Hey, and welcome to the Salty Sisters. I'm Sage.
And I'm Mackenzie, and we're here to discuss our unfiltered perspective on life.
We discuss uncomfortable topics, our unpopular opinions, as well as our lived experiences.
All with a little sprinkle of fuck the patriarchy.
So thank you so much for being here, and we really hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey guys, I went to the eye doctor and I'm blind. If you don't know, I wear glasses and contacts. Anyways, in my right eye, I have astigmatism. And yesterday they did an interesting test where I could actually physically sense my stigmatism because normally I don't really notice it. But basically, it makes the light like when you look at a light, you see like a light. And when I look at a light, I see like a magical fairyland. Best way to describe it.
Whoa.
And it was cool because it was the first time my right eye has ever been tested like that. And I could actually see like the fuzz. And then my left eye was tested and it was like clean. And I see what all you people see. But I
Really?
did accidentally yell at my doctor because we were in this dark room and they did this other test that I'd never experienced. And she was like, okay, like I had my head on this like thing and my eyes were looking through like a scopy type deal. And she's like, look at my ear. So I'm looking at her ear and the room is dark. And she touched my eyelid without telling me she was gonna touch my eyelid.
Oh,
And
yikes.
I was like, what in the, you know? And anyways, I startled her and she startled me.
Perfect. Sounds like a great trip to the eye doctor.
Yeah, I just think consent is really important.
Yeah, for sure. No one likes to be touched without consent. And, a great place to practice that is in a doctor's office.
Great. Yeah, it is. Like, can I go ahead and touch your eyelid, not just like randomly reach up and touch your eye? That's creepy.
Ooh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, it gave me the heebie-jeebies too.
Wow.
Buy a girl a drink first. Oh my God. Hello, saltines.
Welcome back. It's been a very long break. We are super excited to be back with you today.
It's so good though.
Yeah, honestly, like it's not that we don't love you guys, it's just that we
We
really
don't
needed
love
a
each
break.
other.
We do love each other, but we just needed a break. We started the show as kind of like an experiment and it was really, really well received. We're super like thankful and grateful for that, but we still did, we were still doing like 2 episodes a month and we both have, full-time jobs in life. I have like three full-time, not full-time, I have like three part-time jobs. Mackenzie works like a very hectic full-time job, and we have a lot of life happening in between. So we just needed to take some time, and it was great.
Look, I don't think that we need to justify it because the thing is, when you need to take a break, you take a break and you come back and you're, rejuvenated, ready to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So there, take the rest you need.
Love that. Yeah, and we definitely did. It was really great. I actually
It's
really missed our episodes and seeing your face for, unrelinquished amounts of time.
Yes, I really missed it too. It's a really good outlet. It was so good to see your face in person though.
Yeah, we did. We spent a few weeks together in New Zealand and Australia and we had like total vacay and it was super fun and it had been a long time since we had seen each other, so it was really good to catch up in real life.
It was really good. I have some really funny memories from that trip, but
Did you want to share one with
yeah,
the
I do. I do want to share one.
audience? Okay.
One thing that Sage and I do is we really enjoy to cook. And so we were cooking a lot on that trip. And in New Zealand and Australia, rosemary grows in the wild. So for one of my nights, I went out and I just grabbed some rosemary and put it into our mashed potatoes. And Sage really enjoyed that. So when she was cooking, her and my husband went out to find some rosemary, but there wasn't any at our new Airbnb because we had moved Airbnbs. But they found something that looks kind of like a rosemary, but is really just a tree. And her and Matt sampled it. And between the two of them, like I'm just watching from the sidelines, they're like, oh, is this rosemary? And Matt goes, yeah, I think so. And I think Sage goes, yeah, I think it's just a young rosemary. And and so I had to step in and say, like, look, that's just actually a plant. Like, that's just a bush that you grabbed some sprigs off of. It's actually not rosemary or a quote, young rosemary.
Luckily, neither of us got sick or anything from eating just random
You're
plants
not
in
supposed to just
Australia.
eat plants. My God.
Well, I really wanted some rosemary. It was damn delicious, and
I know. I
I
know.
was
I'm
spoiled.
sorry that you couldn't find any. I mean, it grows everywhere. Like you just walk outside and there it is. But
That's what I tried to do, obviously.
so anyways, look out for our new cookbook featuring young rosemary, very exclusive ingredient.
Yeah. That was a great trip for sure. Really
Yeah,
cool.
pretty legendary.
It's been really, really hard to come back to real life and try to focus in. And so, anyways, that's part of the reason that we decided to wait until later in May to release because it's taken us so long to get back to our routines.
2 months.
Episode 1, Season 2, here we are, baby. Splendidly Savage, having the confidence to be your true self. So, this is an episode an idea that Mackenzie came up with
I
um
did.
over our break. And so I think I just kind of wanted to kick it off today by asking like where the inspiration came from for you personally for this episode.
Sure. So there's two real like source of inspiration that I grabbed from for this. The original idea of it actually, no surprise to anyone, came from Taylor Swift's new album, which slaps. Um, and it came from the song The Bolter because the Bolter to me is like a woman who's being crucified for being herself and is just not being allowed to like express herself the way she wants. And the second, so that's kind of where I originally had come up with this idea of like how have we over the course of our 30 plus years sort of found the confidence to be ourselves. And then an unfortunate event happened in Sage and I's lives last week where we lost our uncle to a heart attack. And he was quite young to just die from a heart attack. So he wasn't even 60 yet. And that really had me like thinking about if I drop dead in 20 years, what is it I have achieved and what is it I want to leave behind that I'm currently doing, or am I living my life the way I want to? So I've spent like a couple long days reflecting on that because I think, unfortunately, one thing that comes with untimely passings is this like idea of like grabbing life and living life to its absolute fullest. And for me, one thing that's really important is that as I get older, I don't live my life for anyone else. And so Sage and I just thought we would chat about, some things that maybe we have done that isn't true to ourselves and some things that we've learned and how we've changed and adjusted.
If so, just to kind of echo some of that, I mean, obviously, yeah, like losing a family member has a huge impact on, thinking about, yeah, your life and how you would want to leave your life and, the impact that they left behind. Um, and so that's just like a whole thing to unravel, obviously. And then also, I just want to side note and say, not side note, but, if you're still struggling to get on the Taylor Swift train, I think this is such an important point though, because this album, especially, like, if you've never listened to her music before, like, I get it up until this point, but this album is like unlike anything she's ever done in a sense that for this whole album, she really is doing what you just described. Like, she is talking about these life experiences and she's talking about being true to herself like in almost every single song. Like it's such a theme throughout the album. Like I feel like as an artist, she has just been met with so much like just negativity and there's so much like negativity surrounding her name right now like in the media and the news like you talk to anyone who's I don't know, I want to say what would you say like 50 or older right now and they're just like so annoyed by her, right? And they're just like, I'm so sick of hearing about her, and I was having a conversation with someone who, said, "Oh yeah, like, he's in his 60s and he's like, "Oh, well she talks about like these things that she knows nothing about." And I was like, "Well, have you ever listened to her like music? Do you know what she's talking about? Do you know like the experiences she's expressing?" And like she is doing an incredible thing for women. She is giving us like, a way to express ourselves and to start thinking like, hey, maybe like, maybe like I went through this situation and maybe like it wasn't okay, right? Like the way that I was
Yeah.
treated or, like so that's like a really important piece that I think a lot of people miss because there's so much hype around her, but like she really is doing something for women that's never been done. And
Yeah.
I will die on that hill for sure, you know?
I love that for us. I echo all that. Yeah. So, shall we just get into this
Yeah,
then?
please.
I'll start since this is, it was my idea. When I was reflecting on this idea of like being my true self, I reflected a lot on my like early to mid 20s because I think, and I could be wrong for like women across the world, but I think in your early to mid 20s, the societal pressure is really extreme on women in particular. And for me, I felt it in a lot of different ways. Like I felt it in what I needed to accomplish as far as academia was concerned and a career. So I felt like I was being pushed into like a STEM field and I really didn't want to be there, because I was told that like it would make my mom and dad proud if I was a doctor. So I got a biology degree so that I could pursue medicine. I hated like almost every single class. Like it wasn't for me. And instead of listening to my intuition and changing course, I just like doubled down and got a bioengineering degree. So, that's one thing. And then I also had a lot of like pressure, societal pressure, family pressure about like my own timeline. So, specific to like marriage, I was really, really pressured from a very young age, like talking 20, 21, 22. People were like, why aren't you married to Matt yet? And, that really, really fucked with my head because people would be like, if you're not married, then you two obviously aren't a good like match. You aren't a good team because you're not married. And that like really affected me negatively for a very long time. And it wasn't until we moved to Australia that we just eloped and we just recently had like our elopement pictures taken. And that experience taught me that my timeline is my own. Like it does not matter what other people think or say. Although sometimes it's very hard to not let the projections of other people's like lives and disappointments run your own like consciousness.
Yeah.
So I have learned over the course of my 20s and into my 30s that my own intuition is really what should be my guiding factor, not what other people are just spewing at me. And I think it's unfortunate that people feel so empowered to tell like women, especially young women, what they should do with their lives and what they should be doing with their time and who they should be associated with and what they're meant to do as a career and they're meant to be a mom and they're meant to be all this stuff and it's like let them breathe. Let them
Yeah.
make their own decision because women have such strong internal guiding lights. Like we know what's right for us, but it's often stamped out, I think, because we could be such strong individual like leaders. And I think that really intimidates people.
Hmm. I don't know why people, I mean, I know why there's those kinds of expectations placed on women, and for thousands of years we have been viewed as the lesser sex. We have been oppressed. We are still oppressed, we don't have the same career or life opportunities, and just because of our gender. And it's just like it's so crazy the expectations on us, and like especially like you're saying, like the pressure to get married young and start a family, it's like people are all up your ass about like getting married, and then they're all up your ass about having a baby the second you get married, and then you have a baby, and then they're all up your ass for another baby, and you're just like, will you chill out? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I find like
weird.
a lot of times being a woman for me often feels like I am on a balancing beam and like I am trying so hard to just remain focused on the end of the beam because that's how you remain stable. But
Mhm.
people are like throwing things at you.
Yeah.
Like that's how I have felt my entire life is like you're on a beam and you're trying your best to just finish your fucking routine and everyone else is just like hurling eggs at you.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's quite interesting.
That's that's the perfect like metaphor for being a woman.
Yeah, you're on a balancing beam.
People are just throwing shit at you and you're trying to like stay balanced. Okay, well maybe I'll share a little bit about how I've learned to, I guess,
Yeah.
have the confidence to be my true self. So one thing some of you might not really know, like, because I know many of you haven't known Kenzie and I maybe, as long as we've known each other. So growing up, I was actually kind of like a chunky kid for a time. And I was the only chunky kid in our family, pretty much. And I was also like from the time I was very, very young, I was just an adamant tomboy. Like probably in part to the fact that like I'm the middle and we have an older brother. And so, all my only understanding was like he's a boy, so I'm a boy and I want to like play as hard as the boys do, and I want to have fun like the boys do. And the only like little girls I really knew, like, just weren't having as much fun around me. Like they weren't doing like the Pinecone Wars or, like
Right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I really wanted to play war and do Pinecone Wars. So it's like that's a huge part of like that was something that just really has always been a part of me. Like I always have identified as a tomboy, I guess, which, I don't know. Like that feels like a very like almost like derogatory term anymore, but like I like, but that's just I think what people can relate to. So being that and being my mom's oldest daughter, I think that for me like was a really, really hard thing because my mom is like I don't know how to say it gently, but like she's just not very like understanding at times. And I think it was really hard for her to have a daughter who just only wanted to like wear boys' clothes and play with boys and, like act like a boy, right? That was like hard for my mom because she wanted like a princess daughter that she could like do hair with and show her how to wear makeup and put her in dresses. And so we really butt heads about that, and that really taught me from a young age like a lot of self-resilience and how to stand up for like what I wanted to wear, like I know it's Easter, but like fuck you, I'm gonna wear these overalls to church, like I'm not wearing that dress. Like I would just throw a fit and protest because it didn't make me feel good. Like I don't feel good in those types of clothes, and I have always drawn a very hard line when it comes to that. And so that taught me from a young age just how to like stand up for myself and what made me comfortable and who I was.
You've always been better at that, in my opinion. Like you have always been better at like, this isn't serving me and this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. But I had to learn that, because it always caused conflict with mom especially. And so I had to learn how to still stand up for myself even though it I was constantly disappointing her, and like that's a huge lesson, but
Yeah.
it did teach me that. And like I think that has been a really important tool set for me as I've grown into being a woman and having, my own child and just having that self-resilience. So now I feel very confident. Like if something isn't landing right with me, whether it's clothes or a relationship or a situation, like I feel like way more comfortable just being like, no, I'm not doing this. Like it's I'm just like, this is that Easter dress. Like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not comfortable. And that's that. So
Yeah,
I guess,
I'm still working on that.
yeah. But, it wasn't an easy road, I guess. Like there's I carry like a lot of trauma and scars from all of that, but I think it's like something that's beautiful that's come out of it. So,
Yeah. And I think the truth is that you never get out of your childhood unscathed,
hmm hmm
and you never gain the confidence to be your most true self without some hardship, like you pushed back against our parents and were like, no, this is not what I want to do. And I did the opposite, where I was like, I mean, I still am like a people pleaser to the point that it made me feel so small and like just a fraction of myself, because I was just trying to make sure everybody else was happy, and I never was like, am I happy? Which I think
Yeah,
is really the only question that people need to be asking themselves, is like, is this actually what I want? Is this making me happy? Is this my dream, or is this somebody else's dream that I'm trying to fulfill?
exactly. Yeah, it can, and that is definitely like, I think there's like a piece to it where I know for me, for many years, I really struggled to like practice my assertiveness, like obviously with mom and dad, that was one thing. But like outside of that, I feel like especially when I owned the business, I really, really had to like confront that in myself because as women, we are absolutely told, what we're supposed to look like, what we're supposed to wear, how we're supposed to behave. And being assertive is not something that is, welcome because it scares
No,
men. Having confidence in yourself scares men. It scares other women. So like it's something that's not like valued in women, but it should be. I feel like that's been a really important piece for me personally is like being confident in myself, as my true self, but also like having that assertive piece where I'm willing to like stand up for that always, and that's something I'm continuously working on is just like telling people when they need to sit down and take several seats. Like,
oh, you're actually not invited to my table.
mm,
Oh,
oops.
you actually can't sit with me. What's that? Oh no, I don't have a fuck to give. Bags all empty. Yeah, I found too, like, this is a maybe a different pathway, but I've been really petite my entire life, and I remember a conversation with mom when I was, I don't know, 15. And obviously when you're in that age range, you're growing and changing quite a bit. And she said to me, so this is like singed in my memory, that because I'm tiny, a single pound gained on me is equivalent to 5 pounds gained on somebody else. So you're 15, right? You're changing and whatever. You're growing, you're changing, and you probably need to be feeding yourself, extra, because especially as a female, like you're really metabolizing a lot, and you get your cycle, and you really need to be supporting your body. But like I sort of stopped eating and no one really noticed. And, I was so tiny that the doctor, the pediatrician, I did a physical, and she called mom and was like, hey, like, Mackenzie's like 20 pounds underweight, just to be like at the bottom of the threshold that she should be at. So we need to, get her food content up. And mom was like, oh yeah, okay, like I that's fine. But I just remember her like praising me for being so thin, even though the doctor had called to say like, yeah, we got a bit of an issue here. Like, she really needs to be fed extra. So we fast forward to now me going to Australia. Like this is something that has just like singed my consciousness forever, forever. And in Australia, like I've really started to like feed my body appropriately. You know, I've done a little bit of research and I'm like eating an amount that my body needs and not feeling guilty about it. I'm working out on a constant basis. And I mean, Sage, you just saw me. I've gained like a lot of muscle. And muscle on me weigh, I mean, on anyone weighs more than fat, but it's been like this really weird way that I've had to learn to honor my body is like putting on a pair of jeans that I had from the US, for example, and they don't fit anymore. And instead of being like upset with myself for the fact that they don't fit, like put them in the bag and get a set that fits your body. So that's a new way that I'm honoring myself is like dressing the body I have instead of like this make believe idea of a body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think I would rather have a strong, fit, healthy body that can carry me through than somebody else's idea of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So that one has been a really big, long time hurdle. And I feel like I just recently have started to be like, yeah, look, like I'm 33. Like my metabolism doesn't burn fat the way it used to. Like I gain muscle different. Like it's cool. My legs are strong as hell right now.
Yeah, you're freaking strong. Like I remember we were like kind of like fake punching each other and you like punched me and I was like, "Oh my God." Like you've never had that kind of like power behind you. Like it's intense.
You.
Like, you know. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's a really important point. First of all, I'm so sorry that, that was a part of your journey. Like that's horrible, you know? But the truth is, like that is probably every woman. You know what I mean? Like in one way or another, we are constantly criticized for our
Yeah.
body image, no matter what it looks like. We are criticized, you know? And for me, like I've been on the opposite side of that spectrum, right? I've been the chunky kid, I've been the fat kid, I've been called fat, right? Like I went through a period, probably in the last 5 years where I gained like a lot of weight and then I lost a lot of weight really suddenly and everybody felt like it was okay to comment, And I think that that is really aiding in the issue. And it's so hard to sit there and say like I accept my full self. Like every inch of me, every ounce of me, like that is the hardest thing to do. And so, like, props to you for doing that because for me, that is like a lifelong journey where I'm always like sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, like I think I've gained some weight. And then the next thought I have to force myself to have is like, say something nice about yourself. Before you
Yeah.
leave this fucking mirror, say something nice, like just do something nice because it's like we're so conditioned to like pick ourselves apart.
It's true. And actually I learned this like I learned a little bit about this mechanism from Elisa DeMeo, who we had on the show last season, who had breast cancer. If you didn't tune in, it's a very good episode. But she went through something so horrific with her body, and the way she still speaks about her body has really taught me to do the same. Like
Mhm.
she says to herself, like, my body is strong. My body, like this body has carried me this far and it can do it again. And she continually says that to herself. She says it out loud to the entire world. And that's such a powerful thing to be like, I might be struggling with this, but my body knows what to do.
Yeah.
It is strong and it's healthy and it's wonderful and it will carry me through.
Yeah, you're so
So,
right. That's such a good way to think about it. Like just positive self-talk
yeah,
can go so far.
yeah. I think it's really a disservice that we tell ourselves and we tell other women, that like we're not perfect the way we are.
Hmm.
It's so silly.
Yeah. One thing I like to do, and I haven't been doing it much, but like I just started a new job, beer tending part-time, and so it's a really good opportunity for me to do that. But I love when you're around just random people, meeting them for the first time. I love just sliding like a compliment, like noticing something about them and then sliding a compliment just subtly into conversation somewhere, like 9 times out of 10, the person, it's like a full stop. And the person is like, thank you. Like, whoa, like you noticed like this, you noticed like these earrings I'm wearing today, or you noticed like, or you said you like my hair, and I'm really self-conscious about my hair, or something like that. Like, I love doing that. And I think if we all practice that a little bit more, it wouldn't feel so daunting to like stand up for ourselves and like have like self-confidence, Like I do it because, well, first of all, like I mean it, but also because like I think it like I want more of that in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think one thing I've been trying to do is not to people's face, but behind people's back. I feel like a lot of times when people are spoken about, women are often something about their appearance or their personality comes into the mix, like, oh, so and so, oh yeah, she's a bitch. And I decided that we could really change that narrative. So what I tried to do is like if I'm talking about Sage behind her back, I say, oh, yeah, my sister, she's an incredibly talented graphic designer. She's a really wonderful mother. Or I list something positive about them that's not necessarily related to the way they look, because I think we're so limited by just that vocabulary. Like, who
Mm-hmm.
cares?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful. Like acknowledging someone for, something more than just how they look is so important.
Yeah. So that's just one thing I try to do, but it's a really constant evolution. And I think we often forget that life is like not it's not exactly like planned out pinpointed moments, and that's really hard, I think, to let go of that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I don't get married by 25 and have a house and a baby, I'm a failure. You are not a failure.
Right.
You are not a failure. You do not have to like answer to anyone's silly little timeline. I really still struggle with that. Like it's a constant struggle for me because I just feel like the pressure has just been nonstop my whole life on that one.
Yeah.
And I think it's a disservice to a lot of people because it makes it so like when you hit one of these like quote milestones, you don't actually celebrate the milestone. You're just on to the next thing that like the world's laid out for you. But like I became an engineer and didn't even really celebrate it.
Wow.
That was harder than getting married. Getting married was a turns out you just sign a piece of paper and you like that's it. But like getting an engineering degree was 4 years of like sweat, blood, tears, and horribleness.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a way we can honor our true selves is like take a moment and understand what we've accomplished so far and just be freaking proud of yourself for like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
go get the croissant. Go get the croissant. You deserve it.
Yeah, that's like a reward system Mackenzie and I have in our lives that I think I initiated most likely.
You
Um,
did.
I'm like the food lover. But yeah, when we want to like celebrate something or we're having a shitty day, we just like text each other to go get a croissant. And really, I do suggest you try it. It might like make your day better when you really need it to be better.
I'm going to just say I don't think it could make it worse unless you're like gluten intolerant and you get the gluten full croissant. That might ruin your day. But other than that,
Yeah.
it's a winning situation.
Did you have anything more you wanted to say there on?
Yeah, I do. I want to encourage people that when they are feeling small and they feel like they have been beat down into a tiny little pile of nothing, just to take a moment and maybe disconnect from the people that are pushing you down and really identify that and decide if that's either worth standing up to or walking away from because you deserve to be just you and accepted for that. And
Yeah.
if you're not, then they can fuck right off.
Hell yeah.
We
Agreed.
don't say that enough to people, but I think we should start.
You peas?
Oh my God, I have such a good one for today.
Okay. Okay, welcome to the unpopular opinion segment. Wearing my unpopular opinion t-shirt.
I have my
Merch
saltine one
available.
on.
Kinsey's wearing her saltine crew neck. Okay, you have such a good one. Go ahead.
Okay. People, let me start over. All right, here we go. Here it is. You, it should be against the law to file your nails in public with an emery board. Like that is an immediate ick. It's a no. If you want to file your nails, you do that in a dark dungeon of your home where there is no light and no windows and no doors and no one can see or hear you do that. It I mean, I witnessed that yesterday and oh,
Like,
it was out
like
on the
where?
public ferry. This
Oh,
person pulled out a nail file and started filing their nails, and they were sitting right across from me. And I was just immediate ick. Like, I just can't. And I just want to make a public service announcement. And my unpopular opinion is that you should never file your nails, period, let alone in public. Ew. I don't care that you have time on the ferry. You do that locked away somewhere, like an insane asylum where you belong. Nasty.
ew. That's really gross.
And it made the sound, you know how grandma files her nails and it made a sound like grandma. And I was just like hair on the back of my neck standing up. I was like, oh, next thing you know, you're going to be eating pistachios. Like, this is traumatizing for me and triggering.
That's really bad.
Yeah, I almost considered jumping into the Brisbane River just to get away from it. I'm like, the sharks are probably, that's a better solution at the moment. I know. And I could have moved seats, but I was there first. Like, you move your nail salon to the other side of the boat. And she was, no, God, they weren't even filing like the ends of their nails. They were, they were
She
filing
wasn't
like,
even doing it right.
no, it was just, there was so much happening.
Okay. I think my unpopular opinion today is actually going to be quite popular.
That's not an unpopular opinion then.
Well,
Pick a
I know.
different one.
Well, it's going to be unpopular in a way. Just listen. Okay.
Oh, this is with me. This is something okay, go.
Something you did?
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm going to talk about my sauna. What are you doing?
Oh, fuck's sake.
All right, my unpopular opinion is that everyone should have one of these collapsible tent saunas because they will change your life. So recently, my husband really wanted one of these saunas. I thought it was ridiculous. Um, it's a good chunk of change and
How
it
much?
it
Don't
was
gatekeep. How much?
350 US dollars. But that was like on sale, so I'm not sure if it's still on sale. Um, which is yeah, I also was like gawking. But anyways, I bought it for him for his birthday. Um, his mom pitched in some, so that really helped, his mom and dad. Um, but I swear to you, I have used it almost every day and I love it. So,
Well, if you live in the Denver metro area and you want a sauna, but you don't want to own a sauna, my sister-in-law is starting a company where the sauna drives to you. And it's like a cute little sort of like mountainy looking sauna situation
yeah, it's called On the Glow
on the
and
glow.
we'll tag them in the show notes so you can find them.
Yeah, they're great. But you
But
can also like purchase your own. But if that's cumbersome to do, then
yeah, yeah. But so that's my unpopular opinion.
hmm, I don't know that I love a sauna.
I didn't either, and then I got one.
I find them very hard to breathe in.
hmm
And like,
Yeah.
what are you meant to do in there? It's so boring.
Honestly, I just listened to the Taylor Swift album while I'm in there.
I don't know. I just feel like that's it seems like kind of suffocating.
For sure. Okay, so real quick before we wrap up here, just want to drop a note that we do now have merch for sale in my personal online shop at vonsage.com. Be in the show notes for you. That is how Mackenzie and I are supporting this podcast. Obviously, we do not have sponsors. If you want to be a sponsor, that is great news. If not, the merch is how we're supporting the podcast. So thank you so much to everyone who's purchased merch. And we hope you do because we want to keep
Yeah.
this podcast going. It is not free. So,
This is our first YouTube. So if you would like to subscribe and like our video, that would mean the absolute world to me and Sage, but more to me. And you can find us on Instagram at the Salty Sister Show. You can follow us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. Randomly, you can listen to it on the internet. I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but it turns out it's out there because I Googled it the other day.
all right, well, have the day you deserve.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, drop us an email. And if you want to come on our show, let us know.
Yeah,
We'd
let
love
us
to
know.
have you.
Definitely. Okay.
Hey, bye.